picked the Rams to win. I did. No, I didn't. I picked and I changed my mind because of the change of venue. You absolute tosspot. Oh, you plonker. I went for the Vikings. I changed my picks, didn't I? And that didn't turn out too well, did it? Let's get that out of here. And let's get this in here. Let's start the NFL Divisional Round Playoffs for 2024. Let's kick off with the AFC side of the bracket. And first of all, it's going to be the Texans facing the first seed Kansas City Chiefs. So the Texans come into this game having top of their group at the AFC South and a regular season 10-7 record, coming into this after a 32-12 win over the LA Chargers. Chiefs, nice week off, topping their group AFC West, 5-2 regular season record, and basically 2 weeks off when you consider they rested all their starters in the final game of the season against the Broncos. Last time these two teams met, week 16, the Texans lost to the Chiefs 27-19 in what is a bit of a back and forth game. It's the second straight year though the Texans and CJ have made the first round of the NFL Wildcard, and that is last season beating the Cleveland Browns to get there. Against the Chargers, CJ threw for 282 yards and with one touchdown and also a interception there. Nico Collins finished with 7 catches for 122 yards, setting a franchise playoff record. Joe Mixon also ran for 106 yards with a touchdown. Now, so the Texans move on to the divisional round for the 6th time, where they're looking to advance into the championship game for the first time in franchise history. Chiefs, on the other hand, well, like I said, coming off for their starters, a 2-week rest period. So they should be all well and rested. All the knocks and niggles should be out and done. And look, they started to come right. They did struggle this season, kind of up and down, winning very tight, close games. Coming right, I would say, towards the end of the regular season, the defense, one of their mainstays there, keeping them close enough in games where they were able to get last-minute wins. So expect the Chiefs here with their defense to really test the Texans. I expect Patty Mahomes and Kelsey and co will be rejuvenated and ready to go, because I guess for them the playoffs is when their season starts. They are not going to be fazed by this. They certainly won't be taking the Texans lightly, but they've been here, done that so many times. It's kind of like, well, playoffs is where home is. So I expect here regarding the Texans, I think it could be a good battle. If they start the way they started against the Chargers, I think the Chiefs will just get early tops and never let go. So for me, I just think it's a no-brainer here. Chiefs at home again, I just can't go against them. So here at Arrowhead, the Chiefs, the Kansas City Chiefs, Super Bowl champions, will advance into the conference championship round. Next game, which is the Sunday night game, the game of the round for me, Ravens at Bills. Both teams coming off impressive wins as well here to advance here. The Ravens finishing regular season 3rd seed overall, winning their AFC North, topping that with a 12-5 regular season record, beating the Pittsburgh Steelers to get here 28-14. Now the scoreline doesn't quite reflect how dominant the Ravens really were from the kickoff here. And Lamar Jackson going 16 from 21 for 175 yards, 2 touchdowns. And also on top of that, as he does, he rushed for 81 yards for 15 carries. Add that to the running game of Derrick Henry for 186 yards from 26 carries, including 2 touchdowns. Just unstoppable there against the Steelers. The Steelers had no answer to them. And look, if they can get that going again, it's going to be a tough game. However, I think the Bills will be able to manage a lot of that. And one thing as well, both teams here, we look at the Bills, 2nd seed, first in the AFC East, clinching that way early. I think they clinched that by round 16 maybe. And coming into the playoffs with a 13-4 regular season record, getting to this game via a 31-7 win over the Denver Broncos. And it was a great game there. It was an easy game, I would say, in a sense, for the Bills. But again, Josh Allen, you've got to keep an eye out for him. He went from 20 for 26 attempts for 272 yards and 2 touchdowns. But again, like Lamar, he rushes for 46 yards from 8 carries. He's a threat. He's a dual threat. When you think you may have him contained, well, he'll use his legs. Sometimes he'll just use his legs because he wants to stretch them. Both teams here with that dual threat, because the running game against Broncos, they combined for a total of 210 yards, with running back James Cook getting 120 runs from 23 carries and a touchdown. This made James Cook become Buffalo's first player to top 100 yards rushing in a playoff game since Hall of Famer Thurman Thomas did it way back in the 1995 Wildcard win over Miami, where he got 158 yards. So more history being broken here in the AFC. So this game could be, look, it could well and truly be a shouter, a bish bosh bash, you go, my go, you go, it's go. However, it could also go down to a tough, hard-fought battle between both teams, and that would suit the Chiefs immensely. So, my pick, it's a toss-up to me. If I had a dice here, I'll roll it, and that would be my pick. I'm going to go for the Buffalo Bills. I could have a little bit of a soft spot for the Bills, to be honest. And I just think, Lamar is dangerous passing and also rushing. Add, Derrick Henry to that equation. Cool. But I do also think the Bills, with Allen and also James Cook, they do have a few bit more about them. And I think, I think we're going to see the Bills versus the Chiefs in the conference championship. And just remember, the Chiefs did lose only twice this off-season, and their first loss came against the Buffalo Bills. So that might be an interesting matchup. So my pick, Buffalo Bills. Now let's have a look at the NFC side of the ball, folks. And we'll start with the Commanders over the Lions. Now the Commanders went into the playoffs with 6th seed, coming second in the NFC East with a 12-5 record. How did they get here? Well, they beat the Buccaneers 23-20. Last minute field goal, really, a doink field goal. They went over, giving them the win. That came at courtesy of a Baker Mayfield fumble. Really a big error there by Baker Mayfield. And the fumble was recovered by the Commanders. And that was pretty much it. They went down, managed to get that field goal and win it. It was an exciting, fun game. It's probably the best game of the round, to be honest, of the Wildcards. And I just like what I saw. I like that they seem to just feel, play with that freedom, especially Jaden Daniels. Just absolutely, I just love what I saw there. And speaking of the Commanders, Daniels threw for 268 yards, getting 2 touchdowns as well. And this is the first time the Commanders had won in the postseason since 2006. And back then, they beat the Buccaneers in Tampa 17-10 to do that in the wildcard round. So history repeating here. Commanders taking out the Buccaneers. An impressive game here. Injuries for the Commanders going into this game, or from the game as well, during the game. Defensive tackle Payne with his finger and Ben Sinnott's shoulder. They were, along with Jordan McGee, with a hamstring, left the game. Daniels did get a gash to his cheek, but they got glued up. So keep an eye on those injuries now. For the Lions, well, again, they had a week off. Nice little rest for the boys, especially in the defensive side of the game. To be honest, it almost felt like they had a rest in the end of the regular season with the way they took care of the Vikings as well. Not overly pressured there. I mean, the Vikings defense in that game did push and held the game up, but the Lions came away with a good hearty win there. So they come off with a nice rest from the bye, and finishing obviously first seed for the NFC, first in the NFC North with a 15-2 regular season record there. And we'll see how we go with this game. It should be an interesting matchup. There's a possibility, in my opinion, of maybe a cheeky upset, but look, as much as I'd like to see a cheeky upset by the Commanders, I just think overall the Lions are a much, much better team. I think they're one of the top teams in the league, to be honest, if not the top team in the league. And I think the Lions will be rejuvenated and have probably benefited a lot from that week off. And I just can't see the Lions losing here. So my pick is going to be for the Detroit Lions. Now, LA versus the Eagles. Well, this game was slated for SoFi, had to be moved due to the bushfires, well, in California, and thoughts and prayers still to those affected. So the game against the Vikings was moved to Arizona there. Rams going into that game as the 4th seed, topping of the NFC West with a 10-7 regular season record. And how did they get here? Well, they beat that Vikings team 27-9. Tell you what, Sam Darnold did no help at all for his team. Certainly helped the massive defense there of the Rams, sacking Sam Darnold. An NFL playoff record tying 9 times for a complete loss of 82 yards on those sacks. So it was a dominant defensive performance by the Rams. Stafford went from 19 from 27 for 209 yards and 2 touchdowns. Marrying up with the running game here, Kieran Williams, 16 times he rushed for 76 yards. He's also picking up 16 yards from 3 receptions and a touchdown. So that was a touchdown. So that was a combined 92 total yard game for the Rams. They looked good. They really did. The Vikings shot themselves more than once in the foot, but the Rams defense got the job done. Puka Nacua, as you could expect, he was targeted a lot of times by Stafford. Cooper Kupp was only targeted once in the second half, and that was I think once for 29-yard gain on the play there. So it'll be interesting to see how they come into the game against the Eagles, because the Eagles' defense is definitely one to watch out for. It's been a very impressive defensive record from the Eagles as well. Jalen Hurts, he'll be starting again here last week against the Packers. It was his first game back since a late season concussion. He went 13 from 21 yards for 131 yards and 2 touchdowns in the 22-10 win against the Packers. Nothing said about that, no. He led the NFL in rushing with over 2,005 yards during the regular season. And this game here against the Packers, he finished with 119 yards in what was his postseason debut. So, him and Jalen Hurts, again, combining Saquon, just going to be someone who's going to be hard to stop. Can the Rams have the same dominant performance against that rushing of the Eagles? We'll soon find out. I think the potential is there. The Rams always have the cheeky habit, I think, of just kind of disappearing from the thought of many people, and then all of a sudden popping up and going, "Hello, remember us?" Bang, and then all of a sudden you're left with your pants down and you've lost the game. Can that happen again? Well, we will see. Now, Eagles here, they do have some injuries as well from their game, games that were during the injuries during the game. Linebacker Nakobe Dean, he was quickly ruled out, leaving with a knee injury in the second quarter, and later on he could be seen using crutches with his left leg in a brace. He's also, I believe, being ruled out for this upcoming game against the Rams. My pick for this game, well, look, I think this is going to be another doozy. I think it could be a really good game here, but the Rams look dominant. But I think a lot of the reason the Rams looked dominant was because the Vikings just shot themselves in the foot too many times. You can't have your quarterback sacked 9 times for a loss of 82 yards. You've got to do something there. Of course, he threw some interceptions as well, Sam Darnold, for the Vikings. So I think how much of that dominant performance was because the Vikings didn't help themselves. A fair bit, I would say. Enough, we'll soon find out. I think it's going to be a good matchup here, but I am going for the boring pick. The Eagles. Let's see how the Eagles go. Will the Eagles keep on flying? So it's going to be the Eagles versus the Lions in the conference championship for the NFC. Should be some interesting matchups there, folks. Let me know down below what you think of my picks and how your picks may have gone in the wildcard, and what are your thoughts of the games ahead. Who have you got down there? I know some of you were disappointed, like myself, that your teams were knocked out, but let's see how we can go on to the next round. Until next time, folks, we will see you. Don't forget, I am streaming all the NFC and AFC divisional round games, including every single playoff game, including the Super Bowl. So don't miss a beat on my channel. Hit that like button, subscribe with notifications on, and you can catch all the scheduled streams when and live they happen live. So thank you, folks. I'll catch you next time. I am Pakira, as always. This is Sports Cars predictions for the divisional round, all done and dusted. We're getting close to the big game. Catch you later. Kia kaha.